Time being 9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are these on everybody's agenda?
No.
Just on mine,
Yeah,
okay.
just on yours, please.
All right, we need to do a couple adjustments to the agenda. Under the consent agenda, we'll add a number 3, the county auction results that are in front of you. And under discussion items, we need to approve the airport hangar agreement for Benson Technical Works.
I move to approve as amended.
Well, there's one more real quick. That closed session will have to be postponed. We've got 2 issues that are coming up that would not be relevant to have right now.
I think that we still need to have the closed session so we can discuss what you're.
I would like to
We
have
need
it
to
just
go
so
into
I
the closed
can
session.
find out what's going on.
Just so the press understands my concern, the individual in question is on FMLA, and so that's exactly right. It was handed to us today.
I don't believe that's. I don't believe that's an appropriate thing that we should be discussing at this time.
Well, that's the reason, though, that we're talking about that.
Again, I would caution you. I don't believe that is the appropriate things to be discussing at this time.
So I guess I just need clarification because it doesn't quite make sense that. So the reason we're going into closed session, right?
Will be
It's
discussed.
all of
Will
this
be
can be
discussed in closed session.
All of this.
But again, that's why I say
Let's-
you can't go into
And
closed
we
I'm
can
session.
gonna,
report, and we
I'm
can
gonna
report
ask
to the
that we
press.
move ahead. We have
Sure, but
we
I
have
better
a-
explain myself
we
so
have
that
a-
people know what I'm talking about.
No,
That's
actually,
why we
Justin,
can't go
you
into
need
closed
to watch
session.
what you're saying because you do have to respect what your attorney is trying to tell
And
you.
you have to respect due process too. You're talking about a number of things here, and you don't have, the individual in question should be able to say whether it goes into closed or it's open.
We have a-
You don't have that capability. You can't do that because the individual is not here to say whether or not you're going to close to discuss.
We have
it.
a motion to approve the agenda and a second.
Just so you know, I'm
gonna
thinking
call
it might
for the
be
vote.
illegal what's going on.
I think the closed session is just for information.
Okay,
Well,
so,
information or not, I question how you, we'll talk about it after the closed session. I'll inform you what's going on.
Call for the vote?
all in
Yeah,
favor?
roll call actually.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
No.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Has everyone had a chance to read the minutes? We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our first appointment is Engineer Pogozinski. Would you please come forward?
Morning, Commissioners. A couple items that are on the agenda and a couple other items I would like to mention today to see if the board would consider. First item is to award the quotes for some bridge repairs. This is for approximately 25 bridges scattered throughout the county for various type of maintenance work. Some of it's crack sealing, painting of some piling, surface finishing, a little bit of riprap work. So various structures around the county. The engineer's estimate was $85,259. We had 2 quotes returned back to us. The low quote was from Minowa Construction, $95,291. The second quote was $139,822. I'm going to recommend awarding the project to Minowa Construction. It is quite a bit above our estimate, but in this case, the estimates are really difficult to ballpark because there's so many different structures. The mobilization from each one structure to another can be a lot of the costs right there. So I think overall we got a good number still from Minowa. Our budget amount is $100,000, so we have enough money in the budget to cover it, as it's been submitted.
Is this just county bridges or townships included too?
There's one township bridge, Money Creek Township asked that a bridge on First Valley Road had some maintenance work done on that. Besides that, the rest of them are all county. For that one township one, we've talked to Money Creek Township about that, and gave them the numbers after we receive feedback. Township recommends to proceed ahead with their bridge as well. So we'll do that one as well.
I'll make a motion to approve Minoa for bridge repairs.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second one is approved contract CP 2016-06, it's our annual pavement marking contract for striping center lane fog lines throughout the county, along with bike lanes, stuff throughout the city of La Crescent, and some crosswalks in Crescent and Caledonia. I guess I don't have the adjustment on the sheet here. Yes, the engineer's estimate was $96,073.51. We had 3 bids received. Low bid was traffic marking services, $93,710.51. Out of that, $649.60 is the city of Caledonia. So we have some additional work they include with our contract on pretty much annually. They do that. So traffic marking services is done work in the area before they do a good job. So I recommend approval.
Do we have to do this paving every year?
The striping, yes.
Striping, I mean?
Yes.
What was the estimate again?
$96,073.51.
And the bid came in at 93,000.
Yes. So we're at 97.54% for the estimate. So
Move to approve?
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
the next 2 items are items that I didn't get back in time to submit for the agenda request up until Linda submitted last night. If the board's willing to entertain, they great. If not, I can come back next week in the future. The first one is to award the seal coat and crack seal on Crabbeck Road, which used to be County 7. That's the turnback road to Polka Township. We got 2 quotes received back. B&D seal coating quoted $9,980 and clutch paving $11,850. I'm going to recommend awarding the contract to B&D seal coating. Once this is done, then we can notify the township that the repair has been made per their for the board's approval previously, and then that'll start the 2-year clock on county maintenance before the township takes it over.
And we had discussed this in earlier board meetings, so I move to approve that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The 4th and final item I have is a quote from Matheson Contractors on County 5, just south of where the pavement ends, South Caledonia. We have a bridge that our maintenance staff, or engineering staff was out doing inspections on the bridge, and they kind of held onto one railing. The railing fell off to one side of the bridge. Obviously, it's been there for a long time. It corroded enough where it just got weak. The railing on the other side isn't in a whole lot better shape. It's still standing on it, but it's weak. So we'd like to put some guardrail on the bridge and the approaches. Matheson Contractors is going to be down doing the guardrail work on our County 14 repaving job. They'll be down here in the next couple months for that. We want to have them do the railing on this bridge as well at the same time. The quote is for $4,950. We only went to them for quotes. We can go to another couple of contractors if you want. However, mobilization costing is a big item. Trying to get someone down here just for that one item. Most of these contractors are up in the Twin Cities or St. Paul. They're not down in this area. So when they're down here, we like to utilize them whenever we can and try to minimize the mobilization costs.
Brian, where are they
Matheson is out of Knapp, Wisconsin. Knapp.
Huh.
Does not sound like a bad deal to me, particularly when we don't have to mobilize someone else. I move to approve the railing construction.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, it's a safety issue too. Big
Any,
time.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That's all I have.
Were you able to look at those two concerns I contacted you about? The one on County 6,
They're both on 6, right?
they're both on 6, yes.
Yes. Yes, they have both been looked at and
Okay. 26 has been kind of a pain for you, hasn't it?
No, not anymore.
Thank you.
Just concerned citizens.
Finance person, Carol Lapham, please come up for budget amendments.
Budget amendments, good morning.
Good morning.
There are 4 budget amendments that I have given you copies because I didn't get it emailed last week. I thought I had, but
Mhm.
said my brain went on vacation before it was supposed to.
I like the new forms though.
Yes, it works well.
Mhm.
Gives more, what the current budget is as opposed to, I think the previous form just showed the changes, so it didn't show you what was actually happening each way. The first 2 are from the highway department, and they have to do with a couple of, a class that they had sponsored, and then the district meeting they were responsible for doing. So the first one is just moving costs so that it can be tracked all in one location. And the second shows an additional $135 that it costs because we had to sponsor the district meeting.
Mhm.
The third budget amendment has to do with the improvements in the EOC, and that was addressed at the board meeting of May 3rd, and where the money would come from. We'd be utilizing the NCIT insurance premium refund that we received that has been designated to be used for capital improvements. And then the fourth budget amendment has to do with the microwave for the sheriff's office, and there was research done, possibility of using E911 funds, but that wasn't, so it will be utilizing the commissioner's 6264 line item budget, but it needs to be transferred to the sheriff's office because it's appropriately paid for out of the sheriff's department. So the budget has to go there. That way we don't.
Is there a grant pending on that one
There
also?
is, with 50% of the ANCOM bill will be coming
Okay.
as a grant, and that shows that amount is being added. So it's really only half of the money that's coming from the commissioners, the other half is covered by the grant.
Okay.
In terms of the budget amendments for the salary adjustments for the new employees, we don't have enough information from those employees to determine or project what types of benefit levels they will be utilizing. So it really didn't make any sense to do budget amendments and then have to do budget amendments of the budget amendments. So we'll,
Mhm.
as we get more information, they'll come through. So these will just make it more plain as to what's been happening when we start budgeting. And I did receive, I believe, the final information to close out June, so the reports will probably go out this afternoon. And then the budget forms will go out to the departments this afternoon, or probably later in the week. We can get started on that.
I have a question, Carol, on the line item on the highway department thing, on the Canadian Hawkers Restaurant, the 538.84. Is that for meals or for the paying for the place to have?
I believe it would probably be the meeting facility and the meals.
Should that be broke down more? We have a agreement, we only spend so much a day on meals.
Well, this is sponsoring the district meeting,
Mhm.
so the meal was within our limits, but that's not necessarily a case, you know, because Brian attends a district meeting that somebody else sponsors and they pay for his meal at whatever cost.
That just stood out to me when I read that.
I don't know
A lot
how
of
many
money.
people that was for either, but we can pull the claim also, and I can email you a copy, so you can get an idea.
Carol, that money for that microwave deal, how much does that leave in the commissioners?
If you look over on the revised budget, $42,222.
That's what's left.
Well, that's in the budget, but there has been money spent, and I don't have that right in front of me, but I can let you know what that is also.
So that 42,222, that's accounting for the microwave deal?
That's adjusting the budget for the amount of the microwave, but it doesn't show what you've already spent
Sure.
out of that money.
Okay.
And that will actually show in the reports that I sent out. If you look at that line item in your
Sure.
department, it'll show you what you have actually spent out of that money for other
Gotcha.
things.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the budget amendments?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kruger, would you like to come forward with your HR things?
Madam Chair, I have one item for the board this morning, and that is, and the sheriff is here, we're here to request that we be able to re-advertise for our jailer dispatcher position. It's one FTE. We've exhausted the current pool at this time and would like to go forward with re-advertising. You're not approving another FTE, it's the same one. We're just approving this next step in this additional effort.
So why are we re-advertising for it?
We've exhausted the current pool of applicants.
Okay.
To re-advertise.
Is this the one we have to specifically search for a female on?
Yes.
We will be asking for, per the DOC regs and Department of Corrections, female jailer dispatcher, well, on the jailer side, but it is a jailer dispatcher position as a bona fide occupational qualification for the position. There's a narrow scope of when we can do that, and this seems to be well within that, that framework.
I think currently we're at 14 male jailer dispatchers and 2 females. So we're really lacking in that area.
The DOC does not state what percentage female to male employees you have to have. It directly, though, addresses the limits of working with female or one gender or the other without, I should say one sex or the other without the presence of that person
And-
assisting.
And you guys were running about 25% females for a while, weren't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head today. I know we have 4 or 5 females in house today.
Mhm. Okay.
I'll make a motion to re-advertise for a female jailer dispatcher.
Second?
Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioners.
That's all I have at this time.
Okay, how about if we go ahead and approve the consent agenda? Do we have a motion to put the items on file that are presented on the consent agenda?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
The only discussion is, I can see why we need to get a wider array for auctions when you have one S10 with 111,000 miles only go for $790. Is that what that is?
Yeah, do you know what it looked like?
I have no idea.
I think that might have been more miles than that. That one was in pretty bad shape. I think it was
Mhm.
quite old.
Oh, because I was
I
going to
wonder
say
if that is a
that would
typo.
look kind of suspicious. That.
Justin, did you look at it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it bad?
It was pretty
Oh,
bad.
From paper, I was like, geez, that's
Oh,
it.
Actually, they were quite happy with what they got.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
then good. Then good.
Yeah.
We did good then.
I spoke to both departments, surveyor and highway, and they're
Mhm.
very pleased with the results.
Good.
Good. All in favor of approving the consent agenda?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion carries. Were there any meetings this week on the highway department?
No, but Brian is proposing that we meet again maybe next Tuesday?
Sure.
That work?
Yep.
Okay, after following board.
Yeah.
Meeting, okay.
Okay. And, let's go ahead to the discussion items. We need to approve the claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item we need to approve is the airport hangar agreement with Benson Technical Works. Do we have a motion to approve that?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner Chomey, would you like to go ahead with the commissioner reports?
Sure, thanks. I had one meeting that was yesterday in Orinoco for our every other month meeting of the Southeast Minnesota Water Resource Board. And it was a very good meeting, well attended, and just general budget cleanups and applying for grants like we always do. And then we had a very good program from the DNR on the county geological atlases that every county has. Houston County's is almost done, and they'll be done by August with it. I do have the copy of the atlas with my planning and zoning stuff. They stressed to us how much these atlases can be a resource tool for a lot of things in the county, more than I realized. It was very interesting and
Good.
very good. That's all
Thank
I
you.
have.
I had no special meetings.
Evan.
Okay, I had Houston Fillmore Towards Zero Deaths collaborative meeting on last Wednesday, and reviewed accidents, throughout the last quarter. Results were there were a lot of motorcycle accidents,
Yeah.
so that was it for me.
Okay, and I had the Hiawatha Valley Mental Health meeting last night, and we got to tour the new facility that I've been talking about for the last year. It's finished. It's so awesome. They have an open house on Thursday from 3 to 7, and it's located right behind like Slumberland and the bowling alley. So it's right back there.
Winona?
Winona, yes. It's just incredible. It is, like, the people who are going to be staying there, it's such a neat project to have done. So it was pretty exciting. So if anybody has time on Thursday, 3 to 7 is open house. And we have 2 people who are from Houston County who are going to be residents of the facility. So it's great. Mr. Locker, would you like to come forward? Thank you.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I have 2 matters of information I want to pass on to you. And they both revolve around items that are now available to the public on the county's website. The first concerns the proposed ordinance changes that the Planning Commission will hear later this month. We have put some proposed language on the website in the hopes that the public can access it and thereby be aware of what's being proposed and have an opportunity to provide comments. I just want to show you how they would do that. So if folks were to just go to our homepage and click on the public notices and hearings, the draft language is available here at the bottom of this page. And the best way to access it, and this might be something, the way you might access it as well, would be to open this Word document. And this is the entire ordinance, and it shows every addition and deletion that's currently being proposed. Then if you were to click on the review option here, you could simply use these next and previous buttons to jump through, and it will jump you to every single modification that's being proposed right now. Just to give you a brief overview of what the sections that are being amended, we're looking at a couple changes within the rules and definitions, section 3. We're amending the definitions of agricultural use, bluff, buildable lots, dwellings. And I won't go through every single detail here, but I'll just provide you a kind of a 20,000-foot overview. It's a bit clunky in that every single extra space or return shows up when you're clicking it through this way, but it's a really good way to be sure that you're not missing anything that's been done. Just gonna shoot down a bit here. Within the conditional use permits and the interim use permit sections, we are establishing the due process for a violation that's consistent with Section 10 of this ordinance, which lays out the enforcement and the violation procedures for zoning violations. Within Section 10 here, we're just clarifying the punishment for a violation. Again, bringing it into line with what we believe to be the correct due process. And then within the agricultural protection district, which is by far the biggest district in the county, we are making several proposed changes, modifying the requirements for farm dwellings, modifying the requirements for non-farm dwellings. Both of those include the access requirements, changing it from a certain linear footage of road frontage to a perpetual and legally recorded easement. And doing a modification that allows for the homes that were originally constructed as farm dwellings. By that I mean 40 acres or more dwellings, or if they were done before that was 40, if it was 10 acres or more. If they existed for a certain length of time before a split occurred, that the current owners would not have to go through a cut process, which really eases up the workload on our public committees, on the zoning office itself. Takes a lot of hassle out of the landowners' lives, and oftentimes they haven't participated in or contributed to creating this problem themselves, but still adds a layer of protection so that people can't kind of skirt the requirements of the ordinance. We're also eliminating the non-commercial family cabin category, and we're adding mineral extraction as an interim use within the ag district. And prior to that, it's always been done as a CUP, so there's no mechanism to permit something that only is needed for a short period of time. You end up bestowing a permit that perpetually runs with the land, where that might not be the best option. Now, you'd have the option of doing either or. And I'm just kind of going through these really quickly, but showing that they're all showing up when you use the next and previous buttons here. Within the, this is still several changes in the mineral extraction section here. We're clarifying the purpose of this section. We're establishing area limits within this section. that are consistent with the state's thresholds for environmental review. We're clarifying permit requirements. We're clarifying screening and setback requirements. We're eliminating the term language and the renewal requirements. And we're clarifying the process by which sites are reviewed by the county. And I would encourage all of you, or if you are in contact with constituents who are interested in these changes, to access these and take some time to carefully review them. And then finally, within the general provisions section, we're just clarifying a permit requirement for I believe a home business, and that's at one time was permitted as a conditional use permit. It is now permitted as an interim permit, and just making it consistent.
Mhm.
Looks like a lot of work went into this,
Yeah, the
updating this ordinance.
process has been lengthy. I feel like it's been thorough. We're still, we're still in the process of soliciting comments or suggestions from
Mhm.
yourselves, the general public, and there's a meeting scheduled for the 28th where I would anticipate there being some thorough discussion of these changes.
Mhm.
Um,
Which is good.
Should any of you have additional questions about this process or any of the specific changes, I would encourage you to get in touch with me.
When is the public hearing?
July 28th.
July 28th.
If there are no other questions now, I'll move to the second topic.
What time is your planning and zoning starting that night? Do you know?
I believe the planning commission meeting will start at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And there are a few items before we will delve into the proposed changes.
Okay.
Do you think we could get it done one night, or do you need a continuance?
Um,
I know Winona had a meeting when they had a continuance where they could, because sometimes there used to be a lot of people talking, and you can't get it done by 10 o'clock.
Well, I'm really hoping by doing this process, by which we put it out there ahead of time and encouraging folks to submit comments ahead of time in writing, that we can expedite. There wouldn't be a need if you'd already submitted written comments. Maybe you would comment briefly on that, but you wouldn't have to reiterate everything you said. And I think that will give the folks on the commission more time to thoroughly assess what people submit, rather than trying to do it kind of in real time at the meeting as well. But who knows, it may be lengthy.
How long will each person have to talk? Public.
I wouldn't be sent by me, that would be
That'd
sent
be by the chairman.
the chair, but depending on how many folks are interested, there might be a need to have some sort of limit just for the sake of time. Okay. The second item I want to just brief you on are the proposed changes to the flood maps. And give you a little background here. On May 26th, FEMA published a notice of proposed flood determinations, and that started a 90-day appeal period clock that ends on August 24th. The process that's, as I envision it taking place within this appeal period, is as such that we'll put the proposed maps. They're available now on the FEMA website, but we've added them to the county's beacon site, which makes them much more accessible. Mm-hmm. And we've added them in a way that really lends itself to communicate to people what changes are actually being proposed now.
That was really a great idea.
When I'll pull it up in a moment, and you
Mm-hmm.
can see what I mean by that. But during this 90-day appeal period, any owner or leasee of real property who believes his or her property rights will be adversely affected by the proposed flood hazard determinations may appeal to the county. When they appeal, they need to present data that tend to negate or contradict FEMA's findings. It's my recommendation that we encourage folks to bring appeals to us here at the county level by the end of this month, and that gives us about a month to kind of review the claims that folks are bringing to us, if they bring us any, and determine how to move forward, both navigating the process that's outlined by FEMA and kind of how we want to handle it on our own end in terms of bundling these things.
So were the property owners that it changed on, were they notified individually, or they have to come and see what was?
As far, I don't believe they were notified
Okay, all right.
individually. There was an open house here in the county,
Mhm.
maybe about a year ago. I don't believe it was very well attended.
Mhm.
FEMA did publish a notice in the county's paper of record, and then twice they published in the Federal Registry. I don't know if that really was sufficient to get the word out. I've talked with these folks about maybe getting some coverage in the local papers, and then I'm bringing this to your attention here really as the intent of updating you and also getting the word out to the public so they can take a look.
Yep.
So you can't just come in and say, I don't like where the floodplain is currently being delineated. It has to be based on some sort of science. And it also has to be related to the changes that are now being proposed. So if your property used to be in the floodplain and it's going to remain in the floodplain, that's not an area where a challenge is accepted. It has to be areas that are now being included in the floodplain that previously were not. FEMA asked that we review these appeals and then we kind of bundle them together as a package and bring an appeal under the name Houston County and according to the criteria that they established. So I've met with Rick and a couple other county employees and had some conversations with DNR folks about kind of forming a committee that would take a look at appeals that we receive and make a decision as to whether we would adopt them as a county or whether we would inform the applicant that it's not something we can support, but they still have the right to make the appeal under their own name. There might be some expense associated with that, though, forward.
And the purpose of putting more people in the flood zone?
Well, it's not I guess it's, the goal is not to put more people in the flood zone.
Okay.
I think it's that there's better technology and
Okay.
where they.
What does it mean to the people whose property is put in the flood zone?
Well, it means that.
Higher insurance.
Right, if
Flood
there was any
insurance.
sort of loan lending going on in that property, they would be required to purchase flood insurance and participate in that national flood insurance program, which I believe is fairly expensive.
I just remember hearing La Crosse when they redid the flood zones there and how it affected people's property values because they were now in a flood district.
Yeah, not knowing a lot about that, I can't
Okay,
imagine that
all
it's
right.
good for your property.
Okay.
There's also, in terms of the zoning of it, there's a lot of restrictions on what you can do there too. So there's probably lots of negative things associated with being put in the flood zone. So what our hope is that no one person at the county is familiar with the lay of the land to the degree where we can look at a map and say that looks right, that doesn't look right. So our hope is that the individual landowners who think perhaps they would be affected by this would take a look at the new proposed lines and then they could bring things to our attention that they feel are wrong, and we could go from there. So if you go again to the homepage here and then click on the GIS link and then go to our beacon site. Oops. Don't do that. And just click on the view map. This FEMA floodplain layer has been added. It shows all the information here that's relevant to this topic. So let's just pick an area. Go right here. So you get some colors, and there's a legend over here, and it's not really intuitive. It doesn't jump out at you to kind of remind you to click on that. But everything in white, those are areas that are currently proposed to be in the floodplain and that were previously in the floodplain. So they're not being changed by the new proposed maps. Everything in red, that is areas that were not previously in the floodplain and are now being included in the new maps. And then green, there are areas that are being taken out too, and quite a few. Green are areas that were previously in the floodplain and are no longer.
So you said green's no longer in?
Right, green is
Okay,
there.
zoom in right where you're at.
Right.
Okay. Just, that's our house, so I was
Oh,
just
I
curious.
didn't- I
It's
just-
in
I
the
didn't-
green, so maybe we're out of it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of areas where you see a lot of green. I believe the whole city of Houston, because of the levee system, is showing up in green now.
That's good.
Thank you for choosing that spot, Aaron.
Yeah, I hope that's all right. I didn't, not intentional. One area that we're waiting on is the Sheldon area. And this is on the radar of the folks at the DNR. And they're working to either support, or I guess, or not support an appeal for this area. But you see, this is an area where you have quite a bit of red, and that would have some impacts probably for folks who are property owners in that region.
That's where we had a lot of damage in 2011, isn't that area, Sheldon?
That could well be, yeah. The intent of
Then we went on that.
an appeal here is if something should be in the floodplain, it should be in the floodplain. So it's not to, it's just to make sure that if it's going to have that kind of impact, that it's correct, that it's
Right.
looked at and it's correct.
So the whole town is in the floodplain?
Right now, the whole town is in the floodplain, but as I said, that we've been working with some folks with the DNR, and they believe there's at least cause to take a second close hard look at this area.
Okay.
The tool is really, really handy for determining
Yeah.
Looks like it.
changes here. It's
Looks good.
great that we could get that like that. So I'd encourage you to, spread the word about this and take a look yourselves if you're interested.
Yeah.
I was out looking at it last night, and that's why I was wondering if, because some people, almost all their property now is in a flood zone that wasn't before.
Yeah, I guess I believe with the technology being what it is,
Mhm.
that may not be a surprise to a lot of these folks.
Okay.
If you're talking like low-lying ag fields,
Mm-hmm.
they probably know as well as anyone that it gets inundated with water when there's large floods. But in some other areas, it's not perfect, it's not infallible information here, so it's good to take a good look and be sure it's right.
Thank you, and for everyone who worked on this.
Any other questions?
Oh, this is very good.
It's very good.
report.
Good stuff.
Looks like making flood determinations is a lot easier than it used to be.
Yeah.
Versus the maps, the old maps.
That's right, that's very true.
Do you want the contact information in your office, or how do you,
In terms of,
if somebody has concern, how do you want to be contacted?
yeah, that would be the appropriate way to do that.
Call your office?
Yeah, that would be a way to do that. Thank you.
Sounds good,
Thank you. Is there anything else that needs to come before the board? Then I ask that we go into closed session.
Chair, during this meeting, I received a couple electronic updates regarding some information. I don't think, I would not need the closed session at this time. I think I could communicate what I have to with the board through the personnel committee. But if you'd have time after this meeting to meet the two members for 15, 20 minutes. Okay.
Kind of nice for the rest of us to know what's going on too, other than just the personnel committee.
And I understand that, but, and I'll explain it to them.
Okay.
Why it is. And if there is a way for me to communicate that without causing a serial board meeting, I will, otherwise I will communicate it as I best can.
Okay.
Ms. Kruger?
In light of what Attorney Yant is stating in communications that I've received this morning, I would ask that I could request that we reappoint Mary Marshall as the interim director for a period, an indeterminate period of the director of ours being a minimum of
Did you talk to Mary Marshall? Is she willing to continue?
I haven't spoke.
Yes.
I did not speak with her this morning. I spoke with her yesterday to meet some other matters. But yes, I understand. If the board is so inclined to reappoint Public Health Director Mary Marshall as an interim director for the Department of Human Services for the duration of Director Barr's leave, we request that you also change her FTE status from .32, I believe it currently is, to 1.0. This is a significantly longer period of time than obviously the previous 30 days, and that she be appointed at step 8 of the MATE agreement, D63, step 8.
I will move to appoint Mary Marshall as, say, interim
Interim during pending the
Human Services Director upon her approval, or acceptance, I should say, of the position.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else to come before the board? Okay. We have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second. Everyone.
We all second.
I didn't get in on that.
Not looking.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.